Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES horizon and watched the biggest ship he had ever seen get closer. The alien ship looked like a giant crystal that bent light around its edges. It was so big that Earth's moon would look small next to it. Jake felt his hands shake a little as he checked his uniform one more time. "Sir, we are getting close to their docking bay," said the pilot. Jake nodded and turned to look at his team. Dr. Amy Chen was reading from her tablet about alien languages. Captain Ryan Torres was checking his weapon for the 10th time, even though they were not supposed to need it. "Remember what we practiced," Jake said to them. "We speak slowly. We wait for the translator to work. We do not touch anything unless they say we can." Amy looked up from her tablet. "The Zephyrians have been talking to us for 3 months now. They seem friendly enough. But Jake, their culture is very different from ours. They do things we might not understand." Ryan made a face. "I still think this is too risky. We know nothing about these aliens except what they told us. What if this is a trap?" Jake had thought about that many times. Earth needed friends out here in space. Humans had been alone for so long. When the Zephyrians first sent their message to Earth, everyone was excited and scared at the same time. The aliens said they wanted to meet and talk about working together. After months of careful messages back and forth, they finally agreed to meet face to face. "We have to try," Jake said. "Earth is counting on us." The ship shook gently as they docked with the alien vessel. Jake felt his heart beat faster. He had trained for this moment for 2 years. He knew more about alien contact rules than almost anyone on Earth. But now that it was really happening, he felt like a small child. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. 3 aliens stood waiting for them. They looked almost human, but not quite. Their skin had a soft glow like pearls. They were tall and thin with 4 arms instead of 2. Their eyes were bigger than human eyes and seemed to change color. "Welcome to our ship," one of them said through a small device that changed their words into English. "I am Ambassador Kelrun. Queen Lirale is waiting to meet you." They walked through halls that seemed alive. The walls moved with soft colors that flowed, like water. The ceiling was so high that Jake could not see the top. Strange plants grew from the walls and floor. They gave off a sweet smell that made Jake feel calm. "Your ship is beautiful," Amy said to Ambassador Kelrun. "Thank you. Our ships grow instead of being built. They are alive in their own way," the alien replied. They passed many other aliens who stopped what they were doing to look at the humans. Jake felt like an animal in a zoo. Some of the aliens looked curious. Others seemed worried. A few looked excited to see them. "How many of your people live on this ship?" Jake asked. "About 50,000. "This is one of our smaller ships, Ambassador," Kelrun said. Jake tried not to look shocked. 50,000 people on a small ship. How big were their big ships? They came to a huge door made of what looked like living wood. It opened without anyone touching it. The room beyond was so big that it could have held a football field. The walls curved up and up until they met in a point far above. Soft light came from everywhere and nowhere. In the center of the room was a throne that seemed to be made from a single huge crystal. Sitting on it was the most beautiful being Jake had ever seen. Queen Lirale had skin that shifted between silver and gold. Her 4 arms moved with perfect grace. Her eyes held Jake's attention like nothing else in the world mattered. Around the throne stood dozens of other aliens. They all wore clothes that seemed to be made of light itself. When Queen Lirale stood up, everyone in the room became very quiet. "Welcome, humans, to our ship," she said. Her voice was like music even through the translator. I am Queen Lirelei of the Zephyrian Empire. We have traveled far to meet you. Jake stepped forward and gave the formal bow they had practiced. Your Majesty, I am Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison. I speak for the people of Earth. We are honored to meet you. The Queen smiled, and Jake felt his knees go weak. The honor is ours, Jake Morrison. Your species has impressed us with your messages. You show great wisdom for such a young race. They talked about safe things for a while. Jake gave her gifts from Earth, including music, art, and books that had been translated into math and pictures. The Queen seemed pleased with everything. Then, Queen Lirelei did something that surprised everyone. She waved her hand and all the other aliens left the room. Even Ambassador Kelrun looked confused, but followed the others out. Soon only Jake, Amy, and Ryan were left with the Queen. Queen Lirelei stood up from her throne and walked closer to Jake. She was taller than him, and her eyes seemed to look right into his soul. Jake felt Amy and Ryan tense up behind him. The sexy room was so quiet that Jake could hear his own heart beating. The Queen tilted her head to one side like she was studying him. Her eyes changed from blue to green to gold. Jake felt like she was reading his mind. Maybe she was. Jake Morrison, she said in a voice that was suddenly very serious. Before we can talk about our peoples working together, I must ask you something important. Jake swallowed hard. This was it. The big question that would decide if humans and aliens could be friends. He straightened his shoulders and tried to look confident. Yes, Your Majesty. What do you want to know? Queen Lirelei moved even closer. Jake could see tiny lights moving under her skin like stars. Her 4 hands clasped together in front of her. The room seemed to hold its breath. Tell me, human, she said with the weight of worlds in her voice. Are you single? Jake felt his face turn red. Of all the questions he had prepared for, this was not one of them. Behind him, he heard Amy make a small surprised sound. Ryan shifted his weight from one foot to the other like he was getting ready to fight or run. What? Jake managed to say. His training had not covered this situation at all. Queen Lirelei's eyes flickered with something that might have been amusement. It is a simple question, Jake Morrison. Do you have a mate? A bonded partner? What you humans call a husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend? Amy stepped closer to Jake and whispered quickly, Jake, I think this might be some kind of cultural thing. Maybe answer carefully. Ryan was less quiet. Your Majesty, with respect, what does Jake's personal life have to do with our planets working together? The Queen looked at Ryan with those color-changing eyes. For a moment, Ryan looked like he wanted to hide behind Jake. Captain Torres, is it not? Among my people, we believe that one who cannot bond with another cannot be trusted to bond with entire worlds. How can we trust someone with no connections to anyone? Jake felt sweat on his forehead. This was getting worse by the minute. Your Majesty, I am not sure I understand. On Earth, many people work in important jobs whether they are married or not. Married? The Queen repeated the word like she was tasting it. Yes, we learned this word from your transmissions. But marriage is just your word for bonding, is it not? The joining of 2 minds and hearts? Amy was frantically looking through her tablet. Your Majesty, could you tell us more about how your people view these bonds? We want to understand your customs. Queen Lirelei walked back to her throne, but did not sit down. Instead, she touched the crystal surface with one hand, and the whole room began to change. The walls showed moving pictures of Zephyrian life. Jake saw aliens working together, living together, sharing thoughts and feelings in ways that looked impossible. For over 1,000 years, my people have known that emotional bonds create trust, the Queen said. When two beings share their hearts completely, they cannot lie to each other. They cannot betray each other. We can sense these bonds in others. It is how we know who to trust. In the moving pictures on the walls, Jake saw Zephyrian couples who seemed to move and think as one person. Their emotions flowed between them like visible light. When one felt happy, the other felt happy too. When one was in pain, both felt pain. That is amazing, Amy said. But humans are different. We do not share thoughts and feelings the same way. Perhaps not, the Queen agreed. But you do form bonds. We have studied your transmissions. Your music speaks of love. Your stories tell of friendship and loyalty. Your history shows people who died for others they cared about. You have bonds, Jake Morrison. The question is whether you have any. Jake felt trapped. The honest answer was that he was single. His last relationship had ended badly just before. He left Earth for this mission. Lisa Parker had said he cared more about his career than about her. She was probably right. He had spent 2 years training for this moment instead of building a life with someone, but now it seemed like being single might ruin everything for Earth. How could he explain that humans could be trusted even without romantic partners? Your Majesty, Jake said slowly, I am not bonded to another person in the way you mean, but I am bonded to my crew, to my planet, to all humanity. Does that count? The Queen's expression became sad. I can sense your connections to others, Jake Morrison. They are strong and beautiful, but they are not the deep soul bond that my people consider necessary for true trust. Without such a bond, you are incomplete. Ryan stepped forward. That is not fair. Jake is one of the best officers in our fleet. He has risked his life for others many times. His relationship status has nothing to do with that. Perhaps among humans that is true, the Queen said. But I am bound by the laws of my people. I cannot make agreements with someone who has no mate bond. It would be seen as making a deal with a broken person. Amy was still reading her tablet. Your Majesty, surely there must be exceptions to this rule. What about people who have lost their mates, or people who have not found the right person yet? Those who have lost mates carry the bond memory with them. We can sense it. As for those who have not bonded yet, the Queen paused and looked directly at Jake. They are considered too young for serious decisions. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. I am 32 years old. I have a doctorate in xenobiology and 15 years of military service. I am not too young for anything. By our standards, you are a child, the Queen said, but not unkindly. A brilliant child, but a child nonetheless. How can we trust important decisions to someone who has never learned to put another being before themselves? That is not fair, Jake said. I put other people first all the time. My whole career is about serving others. The Queen walked closer, to him again. This time, Jake felt something strange happen. It was like she was looking inside his mind. He felt exposed and vulnerable. You serve others, yes, she said after a moment. But you do not love others. Not in the way that changes who you are. Not in the way that makes you willing to give up everything for another being. Until you know that kind of love, how can we trust you with the fate of both our peoples? The room was quiet for a long time. Jake felt like his whole life was being judged and found lacking. Everything he had worked for, everything Earth needed, was falling apart because he was single. What if I could find someone? Jake asked quietly. What if I could form this bond you talk about? The Queen's eyes brightened. That would change everything. If you could truly bond with another, we could proceed with our negotiations. How long would I have? Jake asked. By our law, you would have 7 rotations of this planet, 7 of your days. But Jake Morrison, the bond must be real. We can sense false connections. You cannot pretend or lie about this. Amy grabbed Jake's arm. Jake, you cannot be serious. You cannot get married just for a diplomatic mission. Maybe I can, Jake said, though his stomach felt sick. Earth needs this alliance. If finding someone to bond with is what it takes, then I have to try. The Queen smiled for the first time since asking her question. I hope you succeed, Jake Morrison. Your species fascinates me. Perhaps if you can learn to bond with one person, you can teach us new ways to bond with entire worlds. Jake nodded, though he had no idea how he was going to find true love in 7 days, especially when the fate of humanity depended on it. Back on the UES horizon, Jake sat in his quarters and stared at the wall. 6 days left. 6 days to find true love or watch humanity lose its first alien alliance. He had been trained for many impossible situations, but this felt more impossible than all of them combined. A soft knock on his door made him look up. Come in. Dr. Amy Chen entered carrying 2 cups of coffee and a thick stack of papers. I brought caffeine and research, she said, setting both on his desk. I have been reading everything I can find about Zephyrian bonding customs. Jake picked up the coffee gratefully. Please tell me you found a loophole. Maybe, Amy said, sitting down across from him. The good news is that their bonding ceremony is not exactly like human marriage. It is more like a sharing of minds and emotions. The bad news is that it has to be completely real. They can literally feel if people are lying about their feelings. So I need to fall in love with someone in 6 days, and it has to be real. Love, or they will know I am faking it. That about sums it up, yes. Jake put his head in his hands. This is insane, Amy. How do you fall in love with someone in less than a week? Amy was quiet for a moment. Jake, can I ask you something personal? Why did you and Lisa break up? Jake sighed. She said I never really let her in, that I kept everything inside, and never shared what I was really thinking or feeling. She said it was like dating a wall. Was she right? Jake thought about it. Probably. I am not good at the emotional stuff. I like things I can control and understand. Feelings are messy and unpredictable. But feelings are exactly what the Zephyrians value most, Amy pointed out. Maybe this is not about finding someone to fall in love with. Maybe it is about learning how to let someone fall in love with you. Before Jake could answer, his door chimed again. This time it was Captain Ryan Torres, and he looked worried. Jake, we need to talk, Ryan said. I have been monitoring communications with the Zephyrian ship. Something strange is happening. What kind of strange? Jake asked. Ryan pulled out his tablet and showed them a series of readings. For the past 2 days, the Zephyrians have been sending out long-range scans. Deep space scans. Like they are looking for something or someone. Amy frowned. Maybe they are just exploring, learning about our local space? That is what I thought at first, Ryan said. But look at this. These are not exploration scans. These are military scans, the kind you do when you are expecting trouble. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. You think they are preparing for a fight? I do not know, but I think we need to find out what they are so worried about. Jake stood up. I need to talk to someone on their ship, someone who might tell me the truth. The Queen probably will not see you again until you have solved your bonding problem, Amy said. Then I need to talk to someone else, someone who might be more willing to share information. Jake thought about the Zephyrians he had met. Ambassador Kelrin had seemed friendly enough, but there had been someone else, a younger alien who had been working with the communication systems when they first boarded the ship. I am going back. Over there, Jake decided. Amy, keep researching their bonding customs. Ryan, keep monitoring their scans. If they are expecting trouble, we need to know about it. An hour later, Jake was back on the Zephyrian ship. This time, he had requested a tour of their communication systems. Ambassador Kelrin had agreed, probably thinking it was harmless enough. The communication center was huge and filled with technology that Jake barely understood. Crystals hummed with energy while screens showed information in symbols that looked like living art. Working at one of the stations was the young Zephyrian Jake remembered. This is Communications Officer Zara, Ambassador Kelrin said. She has been managing our talks with your ship. Zara looked up from her work and gave Jake a shy smile. Hello again, Commander Morrison. I hope your meeting with the Queen went well. Jake decided to be direct. Actually, it was complicated, but right now, I am more worried about these deep space scans you have been running. Is there something out there we should know about? Ambassador Kelrin's expression changed immediately. Commander Morrison, I do not think that is something we should discuss. But Zara looked scared. Ambassador, maybe we should tell them. If the Void Collective finds us here, the humans will be in danger too. Zara! Ambassador Kelrin said sharply. The Void Collective? Jake asked. What is the Void Collective? Zara looked between Jake and the ambassador. Finally, she seemed to make a decision. They are why we really wanted to meet your species, Commander Morrison. We are not just looking for friends. We are looking for allies in a war. Ambassador Kelrin looked defeated. Zara, the Queen will not be pleased. The Queen wants Commander Morrison to bond with someone, right? Zara said. How can he do that if he does not know the whole truth? How can anyone make real emotional connections when they are built on lies? Jake felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together. You are in trouble. Your people are in some kind of danger and you need help. Yes, Zara said quietly. The Void Collective has been destroying worlds for 50 years. They consume everything in their path. Planets, stars, entire solar systems. Nothing can stop them. Nothing has stopped them yet, Ambassador Kelrin corrected. But your species has something we have never seen before, the ability to think in ways we cannot predict, to find solutions where we see only problems. Jake sat down heavily. So the whole bonding requirement, Queen Lyrelai asking if I am single, that was not just about trust, was it? It was about trust, Zara said, but also about time. The Void Collective is coming. Our scouts detected their ships 3 days ago. They will be here in less than a week. Which means I have to complete this bonding ceremony not just to make an alliance, Jake said slowly. I have to do it so we can work together to fight something that destroys entire worlds. Yes, Ambassador Kelrin said. I am sorry we did not tell you everything from the beginning, but Queen Lyrelai believed that humans would fight better if they were fighting for love rather than just survival. Jake thought about that. It made a strange kind of sense. Humans did fight harder for the people they cared about than for abstract ideas. There is something else, Zara said. The bonding ceremony does not just create emotional connections. It creates mental connections, too. Bonded pairs can share thoughts and feelings directly. In battle, that makes them incredibly effective as a team. So if I bond with someone, we would both be able to fight better? Much better, Zara confirmed. Bonded pairs can coordinate in ways that seem impossible to unbonded individuals. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. It was not just about falling in love anymore. It was about finding someone he could trust with. His mind. Someone he could fight alongside. Someone who could help save both their species. I need to get back to my ship, Jake said. Thank you for telling me the truth. As he walked back through the corridors of the alien ship, Jake's mind was racing. 6 days to find love. Less than a week before an enemy that destroyed worlds would arrive. And somewhere on his ship was someone who might be the key to saving everyone. He just had to figure out who. Jake rushed back to the UES horizon with his mind spinning. Everything had changed. This was not just about diplomacy anymore. It was about survival. As he walked through the corridors of his ship, he looked at his crew with new eyes. Somewhere. Among these people was someone he needed to bond with to save both species. He found Amy and Ryan in the conference room, surrounded by papers and data screens. They looked up when he entered. "Jake, you look like you have seen a ghost," Amy said. "Worse, I have seen the future, and it is not good." Jake quickly told them everything Zara had revealed about the Void Collective and the real reason for the alliance. Ryan slammed his hand on the table. "So they lied to us from the beginning. This whole bonding thing is not about trust. It is about creating super soldiers." "It is about both," Jake said. "Ryan, they are desperate. Their entire civilization is running from something that eats planets. If bonding with someone can help us fight better, then maybe that is what we need to do." Amy was studying her research notes. "Jake, if what they say is true about mental connections, then choosing the right person becomes even more important. You would not just be sharing emotions. You would be sharing thoughts, memories, maybe even skills. So, who do I choose?" Jake asked. "How do I pick someone for something like this?" Before anyone could answer, the ship's communication system crackled to life. "Commander Morrison to the bridge immediately. We have an emergency." Jake ran to the bridge with Amy and Ryan right behind him. What he saw on the main screen made his blood turn cold. Space around them was filled with ships, but not Zephyrian ships. These vessels looked like they were made of shadow and darkness. They moved in ways that hurt to watch, bending space around them. "Sir, they just appeared out of nowhere," reported Communications Officer Emma Walsh. "No warning, no transition, signatures. One moment space was empty, the next moment they were here." Emma had been working double shifts to coordinate with the Zephyrian ship. Her brown hair was messy, and she had dark circles under her eyes, but her voice was steady and professional. Jake had always admired her calm under pressure. "How many ships?" Jake asked. "At least 50, Emma replied, her fingers flying over her console. "And Jake, they are not responding to any communications. Nothing. It is like they do not even know we exist." On the screen, Jake watched the shadow ships move toward the Zephyrian vessel. They moved like predators stalking prey. Suddenly, the largest shadow ship fired a weapon that looked like concentrated darkness. The beam hit the Zephyrian ship's shields and they flared bright blue. "The Zephyrians are trying to contact us," Emma said. "Queen Lyra Lai wants to speak with you." "Put her through." The Queen's face appeared on the screen. Even through the alien technology, Jake could see the fear in her eyes. "Jake Morrison, the Void Collective has found us. We must fight now, or we will all die." "What do you need us to do?" Jake asked. "Your ship is fast, and your weapons are different from ours. If we coordinate our attacks, we might be able to damage their command ship. But Jake, the bonding ceremony. If you are going to do it, it must be now. Bonded pairs fight as one mind. We will need that advantage." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was already moving to battle stations, but he could see the fear on their faces. The shadow ships were bigger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever faced. "Your Majesty, I have not had time to find someone to bond with." "Then you must choose now, in this moment. Choose someone you trust, someone you would fight beside, someone whose mind you would willingly share." Jake's eyes moved across his bridge crew. Ryan was checking weapon systems. Amy was analyzing the enemy ships, and Emma was coordinating communications with the Zephyrian ship while managing their own systems. She had been working non-stop for days to make the alliance possible. In that moment, Jake realized something. Over the past few days, he had spent more time talking to Emma than anyone else. Not just about work, but about fears and hopes and dreams. She had stayed up late helping him practice Zephyrian greetings. She had listened when he worried about failing Earth. She had believed in him when he stopped believing in himself. "Emma," Jake said quietly. She looked up from her console, surprised. "Yes, sir?" "I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Do you trust me?" Emma's eyes widened as she realized what he was asking. Around them, the battle was getting worse. The Zephyrian ship was taking heavy damage. "With my life?" Emma said without hesitation. "Then will you bond with me? Right now, in the middle of a battle, with no time to think about it or plan for it? Will you let me into your mind and share yours with me?" Emma looked at the screen showing the shadow ships destroying everything in their path. She looked at her crewmates who were depending on them. She looked back at Jake. "Yes," she said. "Let us do this." Queen Lerali's voice came through the communications. "Bring her to our ship immediately. The ceremony can be done quickly, but it must be done correctly." "We cannot leave the bridge during a battle," Ryan protested. "You can," Amy said, looking up from her readings. "Jake, the Void Collective ships are not attacking us directly. They seem focused on the Zephyrians. You might have a few minutes." Jake grabbed Emma's hand. "Are you sure about this? Once we do the ceremony, there is no going back. We will be connected in ways we do not fully understand." Emma squeezed his hand. "Jake, I have been watching you for 2 years. I have seen you make impossible decisions and carry impossible burdens. If bonding with you can help save everyone, then I want to do it." They ran through the corridors of both ships while explosions lit up space around them. The bonding ceremony took place in a small chamber filled with crystals that hummed with energy. Queen Lyrale spoke words in the Zephyrian language, while Jake and Emma held hands and looked into each other's eyes. At first, nothing happened. Then Jake felt something open in his mind. Emma's thoughts flowed into his like warm water. He could feel her determination, her kindness, her courage. And he could feel something else. Love. Real love that had been growing quietly for months while they worked together. Emma gasped as Jake's mind touched hers. She felt his strength, his dedication, his willingness to sacrifice himself for others. But she also felt his loneliness, his fear of not being good enough, his desperate need to protect everyone he cared about. "It is done," Queen Lyrali said. "You are bonded. Now let us see if bonded humans can fight as well as bonded Zephyrians. Jake and Emma ran back to their ship, but everything was different now. They could feel each other's thoughts and emotions. When Jake thought about targeting the enemy command ship, Emma immediately understood and began calculating firing solutions. When Emma sensed a pattern in the enemy movements, Jake instantly knew what she meant. "All ships, this is Morrison," Jake said into the communication system. "We are going to hit their command ship. Emma and I will coordinate the attack." Working together with their bonded minds, Jake and Emma guided both human and Zephyrian ships in a dance of destruction. They could anticipate each other's moves perfectly. When one of them saw an opportunity, the other was already acting on it. The battle that should have been a massacre became a victory. The shadow ships, confused by the coordinated attacks, began to retreat. The largest command ship, damaged beyond repair, exploded in a burst of dark energy that made space itself ripple. As the remaining Void Collective ships disappeared into quantum tunnels, Jake and Emma collapsed into their chairs. They were exhausted, but they were alive. More importantly, everyone was alive. Queen Lyralee's voice came through the communications again. "Bonded humans fight even better than we hoped. Jake Morrison, Emma Walsh, you have saved both our peoples today." 3 days after the battle, Jake stood in the observation deck of the new joint human-Zephyrian station that was being built in the space between their ships. Through the large windows, he could see construction crews from both species working together to create something that had never existed before, a place where two different kinds of beings could live and work as equals. Emma walked up beside him and took his hand. Even after days of being bonded, the sensation of feeling her thoughts and emotions mixed with his own was still amazing. It was like being two people and one person at the same time. "Any regrets?" Emma asked, though through their bond she already knew the answer. "None," Jake said, squeezing her hand. "Though I still cannot believe we fell in love in the middle of a battle." Emma laughed. "I think we were already falling in love. We just needed an alien queen to make us admit it." They heard footsteps behind them and turned to see Queen Lyralee approaching. The alien queen looked different now, less formal, more relaxed. Her forearms moved in gestures that Jake had learned meant friendship and respect. "I hope I am not interrupting," the queen said. "Not at all, Your Majesty," Jake replied. "How are the peace talks going?" "Very well. Your leaders on Earth are eager to learn about our technology. My people are fascinated by human creativity and adaptability. But Jake, Emma, I owe you both an apology." Jake frowned. "For what?" Queen Lyralee's skin shifted to colors that meant sadness and regret. "When I asked you if you were single, it was not just because of our bonding laws. I had sensed something special about your species, something unique about the way humans form emotional connections. I was trying to force you to unlock that potential." "You were testing us?" Emma asked. "In a way, yes. My people have always believed that romantic bonding was the only kind of connection that mattered. But through your bond, we have learned something incredible. Humans do not just bond with romantic partners. You bond with friends, with family, with your entire species. Your capacity for connection is far greater than ours." Jake thought about his crew, his loyalty to Earth, his willingness to sacrifice himself for people he had never met. "You saw that in me from the beginning?" "I sensed it, but I did not fully understand it. When you and Emma bonded, we were able to study the process. What we found changed everything we thought we knew about emotional connections." The Queen gestured toward the construction work outside. Look at them. Humans and Zephyrians working together after knowing each other for less than a week. That should be impossible, but your species has taught mine that bonds can form quickly when they are based on shared purpose and mutual respect. Emma smiled. So the bonding requirement has been dropped? Completely. We have also contacted other species in our region of space. Word is spreading about what happened here, about how humans and Zephyrians work together to defeat the Void Collective. Many species want to meet you now. Jake felt a mix of excitement and worry. Are we ready for that? First contact with one species was complicated enough. Queen Lyrale's eyes sparkled with amusement. I think you will do fine, though you might want to prepare for some interesting questions. The Crystalline Collective will want to know about your favorite colors. The hive mind will ask why you think as individuals instead of as a group, and the temporal refugees will want to know what you think about next Thursday. Next Thursday? Emma asked. They experience time differently than we do. To them, next Thursday is more important than yesterday. You will get used to it. Jake shook his head, but he was smiling. A few weeks ago, I was just a diplomatic officer hoping to make a good first impression. Now I am bonded to the woman I love, and apparently, Earth is going to be the center of an interstellar alliance. Not the center, Queen Lie.